World of Game of Thrones is such a rich world, and one of my favorite elements of the eastern part of Essos is the Unsullied. The Unsullied are slave soldiers that have been brainwashed and drilled to be the perfect soldiers. But who are they based off? I present to you the Janissaries. These were the elites of the Ottoman Turkish army. They were kind of like the Praetorian Guard because their original function was to be the bodyguard of the Ottoman Sultan. Eventually they would rise and have positions of political power, but in the early days this was not the case. They were, as I said, bodyguards. They were made up of slaves and captured soldiers. And there's a very particular reason for this. In a court as ruthless as the Ottoman court was, betrayal was often the leading cause of death. You wanted bodyguards that wouldn't betray you, guards that didn't know the system and had nothing to gain by betraying you. Another reason for the creation is if you look at the feudal Turkish army, it was made up of horse lords, essentially. But these lords were semi-autonomous, meaning at any point they could just betray the Sultan and lead their army against him. So the Sultan needed an army that was absolutely loyal. But having an army of slave soldiers isn't enough. You want the best slave soldiers. Enter the Devshirme. The Devshirme was a tax imposed on surrounding subjugated kingdoms, mostly the Balkans and Greece. 1 in every 40 Christian households of these areas would have to offer a son over the age of 8 to be trained as a Janissary. That son would be removed from his family and placed with a Muslim family until he was old enough to start military training. He would also have to convert to Islam, learn Turkish and the ways of the court. It is also important to note that whilst they were slaves, as in they were property of the Sultan, they were not held in the same regard as slaves. Not when they were paid. They were paid very well. They had pensions. Their quality of life was sometimes much higher than even Turkish citizens. So as much as this was a brutal kidnapping, it was also a social advancement. Turkish society is a complex society. But yeah, that's the origin of the Janissaries.